Hey guys, welcome back to Augie and me. Today we're reading the Julian chapter. Within that section, we're reading the chapter titled Evidence. Starts on page 41 and goes to page 44. Dr. Jansen looked at Mr. Tishman. Why don't you explain? Larry, he said. Mr. Tishman handed an envelope to Mom and Dad. Mom opened it and pulled out the last 3 post-it notes I had left in Augie's locker. I knew immediately that's what they were because these were actually pink post-its and not yellow ones like all the other ones had been. So I thought, aha! So it was Auggie who told Mr. Tishman about the post-it notes. What a turd! Mom read through the notes quickly, raised her eyebrows, and passed them to Dad. He read them and looked at me. You wrote these, Julian, he said, holding the notes out for me. I swallowed. I looked at him kind of blankly. He handed me the notes. I just stared at them. Well, I answered. Yeah, I guess. But, Dad, they were writing notes too. Who was writing notes? Asked Dad. Jack and Auggie, I answered. They were writing notes to me too. It wasn't just me. But you started the note writing, didn't you? Asked Mr. Tishman. Excuse me, Mom interjected angrily. Let's not forget that it was Jack Will who punched Julian in the mouth, not the other way around. Obviously, there's going to be residual anger. How many of these notes did you write, Julian? Dad interrupted, tapping on the post-its I was holding. I don't know, I said. It was hard for me to get the words out, like 6 or something. But the other ones weren't this, bad. These notes are the worst that are worse than the other ones I wrote. The other ones weren't so. My voice kind of drifted off as I reread what I'd written on 3 notes. You Darth Hideous, you're so ugly, you should wear a mask every day. And I hate you, freak. And the last one. I bet your mother wishes you'd never been born. You should do everybody a favor and die. Of course, looking at them now, they seemed a lot worse than when I wrote them. But I was mad then, super mad. I had just gotten one of their notes and. Wait, I said, and I reached into my pocket. I found the last post-it that Auggie and Jack had left for me in the locker just yesterday. It was kind of crumpled up now, but I held it out to Mr. Tishman to read. Look, they wrote mean stuff to me, too. Mr. Tishman took the post-it, read it quickly, and handed it to my parents. My mom read it and then looked at the floor. My dad read it and shook his head, puzzled. He handed me the post-it note, and I read it. Julian, you're so hot. Summer doesn't like you, but I want to have your babies. Smell my armpits. Love, Blula. Who the heck is Blula? Asked Dad. Never mind, I answered. I can't explain. I handed the post-it back to Mr. Tishman, who gave it to Dr. Jansen to read. I noticed he actually tried to hide a smile. Julian, said Mr. Tishman, the 3 notes you wrote don't compare at all to this note in content. I don't think it's for anyone else to judge the semantics of a note, said Mom. It doesn't matter whether you think one note is worse than the other. It's how the person reading the note reads it. The fact is, Julian's had a little crush on this summer girl all year long, and it's probably hurt his feelings. Mom, I yelled, and I covered my face with my hands. That's so embarrassing. All I'm saying is that a note can be hurtful to a child whether you see it or not, Mom said to Mr. Tishman. Are you kidding me? Answered Mr. Tishman, shaking his head. He sounded angrier than I had ever heard him before. Are you telling me you don't find the post-its your son wrote completely horrifying? Because I do. I'm not defending the notes, answered Mom. I'm just reminding you that it was a two-way street. You have to realize that Julian was obviously writing those notes as a reaction to something. Look, said Dr. Jansen, holding his hand out in front of him like a crossing guard. There's no doubt there's some history here. Those notes hurt my feelings, I said, and I didn't mind that I sounded like I was going to cry. I don't doubt that their notes hurt your feelings, Julian, Dr. Jansen answered. And you were trying to hurt their feelings. That's the problem with stuff like this. Everyone keeps trying to top one another, and then things escalate out of control. Exactly, said Mom, and it almost sounded like she screamed it. But the fact is, Dr. Jansen continued, holding up his finger, there is a line, Julian, there is a line, and your notes cross that line. They're completely unacceptable. If Auggie had read these notes, how do you think he'd feel? He was looking at me so intensely that I felt like disappearing under the sofa. You mean he hasn't read them? I asked. No, answered Dr. Jansen. Thank goodness someone reported the notes to Mr. Tishman yesterday, and he opened Auggie's locker and intercepted them before Auggie ever saw them. I nodded and lowered my head. I have to admit, I was glad Auggie hadn't read them. I guess I knew what Dr. Jansen meant about crossing the line, but then I thought, so if it wasn't Auggie who ratted me out, who was it? We were all quiet for a minute or two. It was awkward beyond belief. That wraps up that chapter. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and if you did, hit that like button, and I will see you next time.